The following program, The Lightning Strike, is sponsored by Mohammed Fahim, and to the extent applicable, their guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of NewsWeb Radio Company or its management.
Get ready to be jolted out of the ordinary and into a world where conversations are charged with intensity and facts. The Lightning Strike Talk Radio with your host, Mohammed Fahim, broadcasting live from the heart of the city on Chicago's Progressive Talk Radio, WCPT 820 AM. Welcome to a radio show that charges through the airwaves with an electricity like no other. Here's your host, Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, Chicago, and welcome to another edition, another day of the Lightning Strike. With me in the studios today is Ken DeLuke.
Howdy, folks.
And Sheila White.
Good morning, good morning.
And we also have joining with us today Maria Mozaffar as a co-host. Welcome, Maria.
Good morning.
And our person of the week, Sheila, you want to talk about?
Our person of the week, I am excited to have our person of the week with us this morning. Her name is Maya Givens, and she is a dynamite individual with a magnetic personality. She is going to be talking to us about something that affects women around the world, from Eve all the way up to the present time, and that's menopause. So, Maya, welcome to the show this morning.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. When I met you, that the opportunity to talk about, by the way, though I am a mental health professional, menopause is my passion. But the other piece I have to say about this that's equally as important is it isn't just for women. Men also have their version of menopause, which is called andropause.
Oh, my.
So as women go through changes, fellas, you're not exempt. You just think you're having a midlife crisis.
Now, why can't it be women pause for us? You have menopause.
Well, I
Come on.
agree. Clearly, someone.
So a
someone got that.
pause and contacting women are getting to hear women, okay?
Yes, clearly someone got that confused with the naming of what was happening.
That's a good
Okay.
point.
But somehow I think this goes back to that whole
It'll come off.
rib proclamation.
Oh, got you. Yeah.
It's called Menarche for women. So that men keep somehow appearing repeatedly in this for women. So,
Okay,
yes.
so folks, we got Maya in the studio with us today, but we'll be continuing the conversation and getting to know more about mental health issues and what we can do about it, and especially what's happening in the world today, and with the United Health CEO obviously getting shot and killed in public, and there is a possibility that the defense would be that it was a mental health related issue. That's what the defense is going to be talking about. But we got bigger fish to fry. And let's talk about the big fish that we are going to be frying today. What the heck is happening in Washington? Who is running our country? Is it President-elect Donald Trump, or is it a co-president who was never elected by the people? And his name is Donald Musk, or what kind of?
Well, I think we have a President Elon Musk and Vice President Trump, obviously. It's kind of like we were talking, what Maya said. It seems like there's never been a time in history where the president-elect has had more power and has had more just all of the things he's been doing. And so I think that's something to think about. Is, like we said, the Democrats need to take a page out of that marketing book. What do you think about that, Maya? Because that's crazy.
You know, one of the things that's really interesting is that when we were going through the election process, the conversation was that Donald Trump had been in election mode for more than 720 days. When he lost the previous election, he never stepped out the public eye. The conversation was, oh, were things rigged? Because, you know, the rule is if I win, the system works. If I don't win, then the system must be broke. Okay, well, you're allowed to have whatever perspective. And there clearly was some issues with the elections.
Yes.
Well, I think,
Definitely.
I think, guys, mental health is an issue for most of the American public out there.
Yes.
Okay. Otherwise, Trump would not have been elected.
That's very true.
I'm
It's
serious
an epidemic.
about it, because this is an epidemic of mental health, and to elect somebody who has been convicted of 34 counts felonies, and to bring in somebody that has no idea about how the system works, and then this guy is relying on his friend and to talk about things. And we got John Arena joining us from the studios in WCPT Chicago today, and we are actually coming in from our remote studios. So John, welcome.
Hey, good morning. Great start to the day with this conversation.
The Bears are going all the way to the Super Bowl this year.
He's laughing too. Well,
Yeah. Well, I'm going to the game today. That's why I didn't make the trek out to Joliet. So we're talking about mental health here. This might be I might be a case study. Why am I going to a Bears game in 15-degree weather? That would be the operative call.
Yes.
Well. So, John, we will continue the conversation. We'll take a quick break and come back with Maria Muzaffar and a very interesting segment that we'll be bringing on to the show. And Maria will be talking about it and introducing that. Let's take a quick break and come back with more conversations today, folks. You are tuned in to the Lightning Strike. I'm your host, Mohammed Fahim. With me in the studios today, Ken DeLuke, John Arena, coming remotely from the WCPT studios in Chicago. Sheila White, Maria Muzaffar, and Maya, I didn't get your last name.
Gibbons.
Gavin.
Gibbons.
Oh, wait, I'm wrong. Winters. I'm married. Last name is Winters.
Okay, so we'll take a quick break
We'll get this
while
sorted
Maya figures out what her real last name is. We'll be right back, folks. See you in just a minute.
Your voice matters more than ever. Are you registered to vote? If not, don't wait. Download the Vote IQ app today. Vote IQ gives you all the information you need on local and national offices, plus constant updates on the political news that affects you. It's easy, it's free, and it's your key to making informed decisions. Visit the Play Store or go online to www.app.voteiq.org. Your vote is your power. Make it count. Download the app now and ensure you make an informed decision at the polls.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the Lightning Strike. And we've got our guest in the studio today with us. Her name is Maya. I don't know whether she's figured out her last name or not. But Maya is going to talk to us about mental health. And then we have Maria Muzaffar, who's joining us from today as a co-host on the Lightning Strike. And Maria would be introducing who she is and what she's going to be talking about and the focus that she'll be bringing to the conversations going forward. So, Maya,
So
mental health.
Let's be
if
efficient.
you can just speak
Yes.
into the mic over there
Yes, let's
till we fix up a fifth mic. Okay.
Because your conversations are going so great. So this is wonderful.
Okay.
Winters. I'm married now, so I'm going.
Winters.
I'm going by my last name. Yes, Winters.
Now, do you go by the seasons, or is it, so you're going to be changing to Maria Summers next year?
Maya Spring, no.
Maya Spring?
It is Winters, yes. I am a mental health professional. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I have been in the field, the mental health field, for more than 15 years.
My daughter is also on the Will County Mental Health Board. She's a board member over there. She is a licensed clinical
Counselor as well.
psychotherapist.
Yes, I also am a certified addiction and drug counselor. So I've been in the field for more than 15 years. I worked 15 years in crisis in an emergency department. And about 4 years ago, I decided that I wanted to go into private practice to really work with people more one-on-one when they're coming out of that crisis mode. So that has kind of been my background, that I have been in mental health. But the thing about mental health is, and how it's going to play into this conversation, is mental health is in every part of your life and people just don't realize it. Your mental health is what's going to drive a majority of the things and decisions that you make, how you think, how you feel, hence it affects how you behave. People don't think of it that way. They keep thinking it more of, oh, it's depression, it's anxiety. Yes, it is those things. But I subscribe to a theory. You want to have mental wellness, which means you have balance in your life. It doesn't mean things are perfect. There can be problems, but you have balance, work, life, you're handling things, you're taking care of yourself. When things tend to shift, because you could lose your job, you could go through a divorce, you could use a loved one. This is where mental health tends to step in, where your imbalance begins. When you don't address these things, it can fall into mental illness.
Wow.
And that's where you get depression, anxiety. We're not talking about disorders like schizophrenia or bipolar. Those are different things. But there's so many different aspects of mental health that people do not understand, and that's the education piece. And every piece of the news, whether you're talking about why people elect Donald Trump, why we have the situation with the United Healthcare CEO, or even the shooting in Wisconsin, there is a mental health narrative there that people have never acknowledged or do not understand.
Maya, one of the things that I have noticed is people tend to think there is some kind of a stigma attached to the word mental health, right? Like we have physical health. If we get sick, if we get ill, we go to a doctor, right? A regular doctor. So, folks, when you have a mental health issue, go and visit with a mental health professional. There should be no stigma attached to visiting a psychiatrist. I've seen that especially in our Muslim community, there is a huge thing. Oh, people will think that I'm mad. No, you're not mad. You are sick, like you would be physically sick. So go visit with a mental health professional. There should be no stigma attached. What do you think? I mean, when you talk with people, do they come in with a look on their face like I should be kind of sneaking in?
No, I think a lot of people are starting to acknowledge that your therapist gets to become your person. Where it turns into the things that maybe you do not want to discuss with immediate family members or friends because you don't want to be judged, because we know people will say, I'm here for you and I won't judge you, but sometimes it tends to follow you when you're trying to do better. So they have come to understand their therapist comes the person that is going to listen to you, work with you, come up with solutions to your problems. So I don't have people sitting all in therapy that, let's say, are necessarily dealing with bipolar, schizophrenia. Some people are just having life challenges within their lifespan that they need help to navigate those waters, and that's what therapists can help you do. They become your sounding board. They help you figure out solutions. So absolutely, it is changing little by little. Do you realize more than 50% of people in the world will experience some mental health crisis because it could be tied to a divorce, a death, losing your job, even retirement?
Okay. So do you think the collapse of the family system here, especially in America, has something to do with it? Because when I was growing up, when you had mental issues or you have issues in general, you talk to your parents, your grandparents, your aunts, uncles, and the family came together to counsel you. There's no family anymore over here.
That I will tell you, that is one of the components that is difficult. But if the family is already dysfunctional in a sense because the parents are struggling, then I have plenty of teenagers actually in therapy. And a lot of what you're saying is, when I look back at the root cause, it often starts with family. So yes, the breaking down of family is a huge part of where we are seeing struggles because the support systems are not there. But you said something more important. A lot of cultures do not embrace mental health. It's dirty laundry. Don't you dare air it. So you said in the Muslim community, but also within the Latino as well as the African American community, it's something that's not openly embraced. Asian community as well. In fact, a lot of minority communities just already have stigmas about healthcare. So they take mental health and put it into the same bucket.
All right, you had mentioned that things that affect people's lives, for example, divorce or whatever, can trigger these mental health events.
3 more minutes.
What type of therapy? I mean, how does that look? How do you address those issues when you're treating somebody? What's the procedure on something like that?
For me, I'm the kind of person that does not believe in labels. So I hate when someone comes to my door saying, I'm bipolar. They come in sometimes with like 10 different things because they've heard it from 10 different people.
Right.
So my first thing is I sit back and I listen. And I want to hear about what you're going through. I want to hear about your history to figure out where the struggles are. One, I am not one to push medication. Medication does have a place, but it doesn't mean everyone needs it. So that's not the first thing I'm even talking about. I'm not a prescriber, though I do have a lot of good relationships with prescribers. And if I think it's something that's necessary, we put it on the table, but it's your decision. I make you a driver. So we figure out what it is you're struggling with and what tools. Is it the way you're thinking? Is there something actually externally that's affecting you that we may have to figure out how to address? So it really depends, because mental health is not one size fits all. Your mental health is tailored to you. So when people there's a danger to being on TikTok and Instagram and listening to what everyone is talking about. That's their experience. But it doesn't mean that that's you. So I listen, and then we proceed to put together goals and a treatment plan accordingly.
Hey, John, you got any questions for Maya?
Well, no, I mean, I think this is fantastic. And I think one of the things that I've been hearing a lot that relates to this is the difference in generational attitudes towards mental health. I mean, even my daughter sees a therapist regularly to deal with her day to day. And I just feel like very proud that I think that the next generation, like many things, is going to do this better than we have. I mean, I come from a pretty stoic Italian family where you didn't, everything we've talked about, the tropes of we don't talk about this stuff, right? That it's not accessible. And I think it's good to be talking about this broadly, because everybody needs a little bit of time to kind of have a neutral opinion across the table from them, who's a sounding board. And so I think it's really important that people of our generation, I'm 58, start looking at this differently. But I think the next generation is doing a much better job.
How do you get a hold of you, Maya, too, for people out there that need this help? I mean, all the way to Washington, D.C. People need your help.
We can always find me. Pretty much, you can go to my website, which is Maya, MAYA-speaks.com. Everything Maya is there. I also have a podcast, Maya, my acronym for my name, My Ambition, Your Ambition. So you can always check out the podcast. There's about 72 episodes, and some new things are rolling out in 2025. So I want to issue a challenge for people in 2025, especially in our generation. I'm a proud 52-year-old, and I do not deny it. I'm good with my age.
You don't look a day over 51 to me.
Oh, Mohammed, thank you so much.
She's been in the summer, in the spring, now she's in the winter.
I will challenge everybody. Reach out and, just kind of talk to somebody. I have some people I only see maybe once or twice a year. They come in and just have me as a sounding board, kind of say what they're thinking about, what some of their struggles are, something that's on their mind, because they don't want to burden it on their significant other. That's another thing with marriage or partnership. Your partner is supposed to be your person, and that's good. But when things get heavy or too much, you can't keep putting that burden on them, and you need to step outside and find someone to help you, so then that doesn't become a detriment to your relationship. And people often don't understand that you can't put everything on everyone else. Find someone who has the skill sets that can help you actually do what you need to do. And a good therapist, by the way, is going to be honest. So prepare yourself for honesty and not what you want to hear. That's not how that process works.
Awesome. Thank you so much, folks. We got Maya.
Winters.
Winters. We're going with Winters.
We'll stick with
In the
Winters.
studio. She's a person of the week, and we'll continue the conversation after the break with Maria Muzaffar, who's joining us from today as a co-host. And in order to reach Maya, you got to go to maya-speaks.com. Maya, thank you very much. We'll be right back after this break, folks.
Thank you.
Are you a business looking for the right talent or a job seeker searching for your dream career? Look no further than the Center for Strategic Solutions, your workforce solution experts. Our experienced team at the Center for Strategic Solutions is dedicated to connecting employers with top-tier talent and helping job seekers find opportunities that truly align with their goals. We're more than just consultants. We're your partners in success. Ready to take your workforce to the next level or land that ideal job? Contact the Center for Strategic Solutions today at 1-847-306-9274 or visit us online at www.cfssus.com. The Center for Strategic Solutions, your bridge to a brighter future in the Windy City. The number to call is 847-306-9274 or send an email to info@cfssus.com. That is info@cfssus.com.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Thank you for tuning in, folks. If you want to reach us during the broadcast, you can reach us at 773-763-9278 or 773-763-WCPT. We come every Sunday morning from 9 to 10 on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk radio station, and the top progressive radio station in the country, by the way. You can also catch us live on our Facebook page. Go to facebook.com/TLS Chicago. I think we changed it to TLS Radio now, because we will be looking to go national on other stations in the coming year as we progress. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. We're looking at a couple of major cities, Boston, Minneapolis, Madison, Wisconsin, and Los Angeles areas. So
Okay, so with that, we got Maria Muzaffar in the studios. Maria, good morning. Welcome to the team of the Lightning Strike.
Good morning.
And you want to talk a little bit about your background, what you are bringing to the table, and the causes that brought you over here that you would really want our listeners and the American public to be aware of.
First of all, let me say thank you. I'm excited to have a segment with all of you, inspired with Maya's segment right now as well. I think I want to thank the audience first. That they're up Sunday morning at 9 a.m., which basically identifies the fact that there are people out there just paying attention to their lives even outside themselves. So that's a starting point of what my segment is really going to be about. So in a nutshell, I'm an attorney. I've done civil rights work, so I've been a civil rights attorney, now a legislative attorney. And to break that down very simply, what that means is that I've been writing legislations almost for the last 15, 16 years, working on policy for almost 20 years. And what that also means is that you don't have to be an elected official to write legislations. And As an attorney, I worked on a lot of things, definitely saw mental health issues, but I mediated divorces, employment discrimination, police brutality, very different areas in our communities where people have had issues. And I would say, Maya, it has tied to mental health in so many different ways. And what really, really gets people is, how do they solve their problems? How do they reach out to people in their communities and look at the structures and the institutions and the different civic offices that are facing them face forward? How do they make it work for them instead of kind of bringing them down in the community, whether it be work, your neighbors, anything it could be. So through mediation, through legal work, and then through writing legislations, I want to definitely highlight, and I hope to do this every Sunday, is that we are further divided on solving our own problems and solving this nation's problems because we sit in an echo chamber.
Quick question. When you decide to draft a new piece of legislation, from the time you have the inspiration to put it down on paper to the time it actually gets implemented, what kind of time frame are we talking about on that?
The ideal situation is that you introduce something and within 2 years you should be able to pass it. And that is traditionally not the case because there's a lot of roadblocks. There's a lot of political baggage. There's a lot of baggage on advocacy as well. People will tell you, if you want to be able to solve a certain problem, you got to wait your turn. You got to wait when it's politically feasible. You got to wait when everybody's going to be able to agree with you. But when you take the route that you're here to solve a problem and not just wait for the political timing of such issues, then you have a job to do and you will talk to whoever you need to talk to be able to solve that problem. And that's why I want to reaffirm, like we were talking about it, Mohammed and Ken and I, of what the name of my segment would be, and that's why I call it Breaking the Echo Chamber, because we need to be able to step outside of ourselves and our silos to be able to solve problems. So we're not in political camps to the point where we are detrimental to our own progress. And I want to kind of tie into this about mental health too. So much of what I see when working with communities and working with elected officials is the way people see themselves, right? The way you show up in your civic engagement, the way you show up at life is going to impact how you advocate for yourself and how you advocate for your community. I mean, I'll give you an example, and this is one of the most beautiful examples I've seen. We've been blessed to have so many different interactions when you're out there doing what you're passionate about. I met Wadea Al-Fayoumi's mother. Wadea Al-Fayoumi, as you know, many of you may have known, is a young boy who was stabbed 26 times in Plainfield, Illinois, and it has been charged as a hate crime. And when I met his mother is steadfast in making sure that, justice is served, but more importantly, she does not see herself as a victim. She sees herself as someone who wants to bring to fruition the reason of why, for this reason, Wadea was taken. And so I think that's very critical. I mean, when you don't see yourself as a victim, even for when you've suffered such tragedy, but you say, you know what, I have a job to do. I have to change what this was all about. I have to bring goodness into the world out of tragedy. It changes what propels you. And I think that ties to, I always feel this way. I don't know I always feel this way when I travel outside the United States. I travel outside the United States and we experience these different cultures, the beautiful world that we have. I come back into the United States, and the moment I land, and when we go into those airports, there is a heaviness of people. There's a heaviness that you feel that people are walking around with, and I want to again connect to what Maya said. We are walking around with such anxiety, such hopelessness, such powerlessness, and if you compare to the resources and the income level and just what we have available compared to other parts of the world, you're like, wait. You can have an amazing, thriving life. What's going on here? And it is, and we can go into this next week, but it is how we see ourselves, the messages we are told, what echo chambers remind us that we are not fulfilling what we're supposed to fulfill and are able to do what we can do to change circumstances. This whole system of, this whole notion of saying the system is always against us is a very powerful phrase.
Yes,
The words
it is.
marginalized, the words invisible communities. Well, if you're invisible, you're not really going to fight to be seen because you've already adopted you're invisible.
You know, one of the things that you said that the system is against us. What is the system? The system is us, okay? I, along with Harry Moser, am also the co-founder of the Reshoring Initiative. So reshoring is bringing American jobs back from overseas, especially for manufacturing, by teaching the manufacturers the actual cost of offshoring production. So it's not just chasing the low cost of labor overseas. Harry Moser was the chairman of A.G. Sharmy, a major manufacturing company in Lincolnshire. So when he retired, he came out to me, and when I was working as the director of one of the employment agencies, the IDES, working at Arlington Heights, and Harry and I and Ryan Haas, we launched the Reshoring Initiative. Harry identified 26 different factors that should go to the cost of the product. Okay? The long supply chain and the high different factors that come in. If you're manufacturing here, you got to keep up inventory and all of that. So anyway, we were making a presentation at one of the industry association, and question and answer time. A guy puts up his hand and says, well, but how can we fix it? It is the government at fault. Okay. So I said, sir, when was the last time you voted?
That right there.
And
Yes.
that right there shut him down. I said, you are the government. It is of the people,
Yeah.
by the people, for the people. And if you don't take responsibility,
Oh boy.
you have no questions to ask us. Please let us continue the conversation. So, Mario, coming back to your point, it is about taking responsibility. The average voter turnout in the last election in Will County was less than 20%. Just think about it for
And
a
there's
second.
more than 300,000 plus people in Will County. Just
Wow,
roughly, and that's a
interesting.
number from several years ago.
So
Yeah.
if we are not taking advantage of, you talked about coming back into the country with this heavy feeling and then looking to see what's happening in other countries out there. People don't have what it takes even to go out and vote, right? Here, we have every possible facility, and then we let people like Elon Musk steal an election from us. And then we have the Democratic Party, which is going totally bonkers now. The old people in the
Say the
Democratic
least.
Party, when I say old people, I mean this old guard that is out there who determined to hoist somebody like Kamala Harris on us at the last moment. They could have done it a long time back, okay? So Kamala was basically a sacrificial goat. That's the feeling I have. And if these people don't get their act together, you're going to have more problems. So, echo chamber.
Can I ask you, you said so many things that that resonate with me. It made me once go back to, for all my 50 plus people, I'm going to say Schoolhouse Rock. And it tells you I'm just a
Yeah.
bill on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, remember
And it
that, yeah.
taught you about government. Notice those kind of things have disappeared, educating people about how government
True.
works. It's way before your time.
I mean,
But-
civics
but it's-
civics should be
civics-
taught in high school.
It really
again.
taught about
I
to
mean,
kids
that's just people just
through-
don't even understand how the process works
Yeah,
anymore.
it taught through music how things in government work.
Exactly.
Because it was catchy. But you said so many things that people need to understand. It doesn't matter if Donald Trump is not your president-elect. You don't agree.
Yeah.
That does not mean you step away from the table. It does not mean you stop trying. How do you think things change? So now you shift your focus and say, okay, well, this is the person we got to work with. So we got to get together. What changes do we want? What bills do we think that we can get put together to make those changes? And then let's go present this to Congress. You
Okay,
just don't fade
so
away.
That's
folks,
true.
we got Maya Winters in the studio with us. We also have Maria Muzaffar. John Arena is coming in from the main studios in WCPT. We'll take a quick break and come back after the break. John, as an elected official, former elected official, as a city alderman, if you have any questions, suggestions for Maria, that would be great. But we'll take a quick break and come right back after that. You're listening to The Lightning Strike on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk radio station. We come every Sunday morning, 9 to 10.
Your voice matters more than ever. Are you registered to vote? If not, don't wait. Download the Vote IQ app today. Vote IQ gives you all the information you need on local and national offices, plus constant updates on the political news that affects you. It's easy, it's free, and it's your key to making informed decisions. Visit the Play Store or go online to www.app.voteiq.org. Your vote is your power. Make it count. Download the app now and ensure you make an informed decision at the polls.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the Lightning Strike. Every Sunday mornings we are here, and you can follow us on our Facebook page, and you can also, catch us on Spotify and Apple Podcast, and you can catch us on the WCPT website or heartlandsignal.com, all kinds of places. And after the show, we go ahead and post the whole show on our website, which is TLS Radio for the lightningstrikeradio.com. And you can catch the show like in a couple of days. We post it, and you have all the archives, and you can also go to our YouTube channel. Plenty of ways for you to interact with us. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please go to our website, tlsradio.com. And John Arena is in the studio in WCPT main studios today. Mm-hmm. John, if you catch any phone calls coming in, just feel free to just let us know and get those calls in the air. The number to call in, 773-763-9278. So as a former alderman of the city of Chicago, 45th Ward, do you have any questions for Maria on what we're talking about today?
Well, I mean, I think, it's interesting. Her perspective from the advocacy side outside of government is really important. I mean, we could not, do the job without having partners, whether it was union partners, to help us understand the issues from that perspective. You're an elected official. You don't get a chip implanted to know every issue. You do your research or you follow the party line. I mean, there's different ways of doing the job. I was more in the research approach to it. But even with that, you have to have people there giving you insight into the things, into the nuances of how to craft law that can be effective. And you can't, see around every corner, but without the advocacy that Maria is speaking about, it would be an incredibly hard job. And, I know we're talking about budgets right now with the federal government going through the process. I went through, 8 budgets when I was in city council. And, it's the same no matter where you go, except, a city can't print money. The federal government can. So deficits are a little bit different in debt. But, it's really important to understand, I think, the nuances of budgeting, and it's a setting of priorities. It's not a check that you're writing. So ultimately, checks are going to be written, but the bigger issue is how do we put money towards issues that Maria or somebody in her position might bring to the table to say, we need to fund this mental health program, or we need to fund, this, social issue. How do we fund it? How do we prioritize that money? Does the money come from general funds, or does it come from grants that we might get from the state or the federal government? So all of these things are, the bigger picture on budgeting. But at the end of the day, an elected official we can't look at elected officials and say, well, you obviously know all this stuff. We have to advise them, and we have to do that as constituents on day-to-day issues, and we have to do it as advocates like we're talking about here.
So, Maria, when you start advocating for any issue, I know that you have really written and advocated for a number of bills that actually passed with the state.
All of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good record.
So you got a great record on it. But John, remember Murray, who is also part of our team, and as a former congresswoman, Murray was talking about that 80% of our Congress people have been bought by AIPAC and other agencies like that, okay? So when you have lobbyists coming in with their own things on it, how does a common person like you and I or Maria go against the power of the lobbyists? Maria, how would you do that?
So this could address any lobby group. Any lobby group comes in with a narrative.
Yeah, I was just
right?
mentioning AIPAC
Yeah.
because they are very much in the news.
Yeah,
I mean,
so,
after spending $100 million trying to knock off Cory Bush and...
Yeah, so let's break this down. Any lobby group has 2 points that they use to persuade. One is the media narrative, and the other is the money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
And the third part, which is the ideal situation, is really the moral issue that you're trying to address. If you can take all three and put them in a bag, that's perfect. If your moral issue aligns with how you speak, you're not stating something that is untrue, you're not stating to elected officials something that is extremely important to the constituency, and you have people that are buying into that media narrative and donating and supporting candidates and elected officials that support that issue, all of that works together in a great little package.
Yeah.
But how does a common person then get their hands into that process?
That was the question
Right?
that I had.
And but we need to understand those structures so we know where to go now. So if there's a common person, you identify what kind of media narrative do I need to create to be able to bring out the truth on this issue.
Okay.
Go
Let's
ahead.
break it down. What kind of media narrative? So starting with, obviously the corporate media is, again, bought and sold by people that we have no control over. Social media is coming in very strong, right? So would that be something that we should be aware of?
Huge opportunity on social media.
Yes.
Huge opportunity in people getting information that is not biased or censored. And in addition to that, we have to be mindful of the digital echo chamber that can also exist. And so identifying other views, other points of view, what are the other people saying to be able to counter your argument? Understand where they're coming from, understand their perspective. Don't just deny it as complete falsities. Figure out why it's somebody else's truth. So that is part of creating a media narrative, is understanding the viewpoint. So that's number one. Number two, identifying the lobby groups that work 24/7 to be able to, for you to not get your word out, in which we identify social media now kind of gives you that leverage, right? And so when you identify that, you identify how do they operate? Who are they talking to? Which institutions have they built relationships with? And a common person, I will tell you, when there's a moral alignment of an issue, the issue can be so compelling that a moral argument can really, you have to understand, lobby groups, elected official institutions are run by humans. At the end of the day, minds can be changed. Minds can be changed. And I remember, I'll just give you an example. One legislation that I was advocating for, that I drafted, in one of the Senate committee hearings, the senator said to me, "Can you please name one legislation around the country that is similar to the one you want to push? Just one, so we can see that this is possible?" And I said, "There's not a single one, but you will be a visionary once we do it."
Wow.
Done.
There you go.
And it
Good.
passed.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you have to look at what is in your treasure box
Yes.
to be able to move the needle, instead of the system's against us, we don't have what they have. Well, you are not helpless or powerless. Because go to the other part of the world where they can't even get their words out.
Yeah,
Wow.
speaking of moving the needle, and this is really important, Marie Newman, who was our co-host, she was an ex-congresswoman. One of the most powerful things that you can do as an individual is go and knock on the door of your local congressperson and talk to them specifically. That's going to have the most impact, okay? Because they're looking at getting reelected, and you're the constituents that are making that possible for them. So the lobbying groups and everyone else has their money, they have their influence, but that is the most effective way of getting your voice across.
If I could jump in on that, it's as an elected official, it's really important to hear from your constituents. I mean, you're going to take meetings with, lobbyists and the donors and hear them, but they don't vote for you. I mean, they help you get votes by having a dollar, to get your message out. But, I would say, a vast majority of elected officials will hear their constituents. Now, you do have to bring a coherent argument. I mean, I've sat through some really painful, meetings where, unreasonable requests and, don't lead with "I pay your salary" kind of stuff, because I heard that an awful lot. That's not effective, right? Or telling an elected official, "We're going to vote you out of office." I mean, you want to go in like you would want to go in with, to talk to your child to convince them to put their, pants on to get to school in the morning. You don't want to yell at them and to berate them. You want to go in there with an argument that supports your position and what you want to see done, but treat them with respect, treat them as adults, and you'll get further. I'll offer that as a real world insight.
Hey, John, but here's the question that I have for the group, okay, for everyone. When you have a 1,500-page bill in Congress, and a congressperson is expected to read through all of that in 2 days and then vote on it, how practical is it? Why is our system so messed up?
I really like. There's an awful lot that we talk about, and I think this goes to briefly. We kind of touched on narratives and the words we use broadly. When we talk about government as being too complex and too unwieldy and impossible to deal with, that's a misnomer. I mean, there are lawyers that work on this, and so much of any bill that I looked at. You know, yes, there's a lot of pages, there's a lot of words, but there's a lot of legal in there. And even a layman, I'm not an attorney. I come from a marketing and graphic design background. So how did I figure out what was in the budget? There's executive summaries at the beginning. You start there. You can dive into the real numbers. What is, if we're talking about a general obligation bond, what's the interest rate? I mean, those are things that you can jump to and skip over, and you learn how to do that once you're in office. So when we talk about, well, 1,500 pages, nobody's reading every word. No, you're not reading every word, but there is ways to get to the substance there. And what we have to do is not make it so alien that, if we don't just cut this down to 3 pages, there's a reason why lawyers got to be lawyers, and we have a litigious society. But there's also precedent that we have to work with. There's also, reasons for the document being what it is. And it's the federal government. So you're talking about 51 states with 51 different priorities and a lot of different moving parts. I always say, if I didn't want to read, then I shouldn't have run for office. If an elected official is complaining about the work they have to do, then the next day the thing they should do is write their resignation letter, because that's what you signed up for.
From a practical point of view, I totally agree with you, John. I mean, you know that I'm also the commissioner over here for our local village for our planning and zoning department. And when we have zoning issues come up in front of us, the first thing I look at is the staff recommendations at the bottom of the big package that is sent to us. Okay. But here's my point. When we have lobbyists going in and interacting with the staff of Congress people and pushing a particular agenda, that is where it gets critical for me. And as a constituent of the local congressperson who is not willing to listen to me, I'll give you an example. Okay, Lauren Underwood is our congressperson for the 14th district that I am in. And we went and talked to her multiple times about supporting a resolution for a ceasefire in Gaza. Mm-hmm. No movement. She would listen from one year, go out the other year. So that is something that I am concerned about, and that's where we want to get the word out, that come out and hold your elected representative accountable for their action, no matter what, okay?
Yeah. I think we've talked about that before, and I don't know, her evolution on that particular issue, but repetition is good. I mean, again, what I can apply my real world understanding is marketing. Coke doesn't put one ad out and then calls it a day. It's repetition. You have to keep.
On that note, let us take a quick break because we are almost into our final few minutes. Come back at the end of the break with more conversations. Folks, we are tuned into the Lightning Strike Sunday mornings from 9 to 10 on WCPT 820 AM.
Are you a business looking for the right talent or a job seeker searching for your dream career? Look no further than the Center for Strategic Solutions, your workforce solution experts. Our experienced team at the Center for Strategic Solutions is dedicated to connecting employers with top-tier talent and helping job seekers find opportunities that truly align with their goals. We're more than just consultants. We're your partners in success. Ready to take your workforce to the next level or land that ideal job? Contact the Center for Strategic Solutions today at 1-847-306-9274 or visit us online at www.cfssus.com. The Center for Strategic Solutions, your bridge to a brighter future in the Windy City. The number to call is 847-306-9274 or send an email to info@cfssus.com. That is info@cfssus.com.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Okay, folks, welcome back to the Lightning Strike. I'm Mohammed Fahim. With me in the studios today, Ken Daduk, Sheila White, Maya Winters, and Maria Muzaffar, and joining us from the WCPT studios in Chicago, Alderman John Arena. We got about 6 minutes to go before we finish out the show today. And just to summarize, we were talking about mental health issues today with Maya, and if you want to go to her website, it is maya-speaks.com to follow up with her. We also are talking about legislative issues, how to push a particular agenda, and we got the absolute expert joining us with our team. Maria is not going to be here next week because she'll be traveling, but as we go into the new year, we will continue the conversations, and we are also looking to see if we can go ahead and continue the conversation after the 1 hour is over with a Facebook page for another hour, and we're going to go on other social media like Instagram and YouTube and all of that, so we can continue the conversation going into next year with the Trump administration coming in. No need to be afraid. There's a lot of people out there saying, "Oh, you know, we're going to take a 4-year cruise and come back." No, here's the thing. Okay, Congress finally, with this bill that was there for funding, some of the Republicans got their spine up and said, "We're not going to take this BS from Elon Musk and Donald Trump." Maria, finish off the conversation. Please tell us what we can do as citizens, as residents of this great country, to have our voice heard in places that count.
I'm going to go back to what John said. John had said that a lot of elected officials should understand that their job is to read. The reality is that many elected officials, God bless John, but many elected officials don't read all their legislations. And I think one critical thing for us to do is to remove this distance between the citizen and the person that's an elected official. Remove that distance. We're trying to solve a problem together, and you're more vested in it when you're on the ground and suffering those circumstances yourselves. And so when you actually address an issue, I mean, I would say identify what you're passionate about, what problem you want to solve, not just for yourself, but, I mean, you are your neighbor's keeper. We believe that this nation cannot survive if we don't see ourselves in other people. And so what are you trying to solve? Talk to other people that have the same issue, the same concern, and then come up with a solution. I will tell you, when you walk into an elected official's office and you say, here's the one pager about the issue that is very pressing. Here are the number of people that are impacted. Here are the number of people in your district that are impacted. Here is a solution to the problem that we've drafted. We literally went on the website, elected official. We saw how bills are written, and then we put our words in those bills, and now you have a bill. Put your name on it, introduce it, and you'll be advocating on the right side of the issue. Now, I think the critical thing here is for us to understand that the more we create, and John said this, the more we create this understanding that everything is complex, you allow yourselves to get lost.
Yeah.
It's simple. You want to change your life. You are living in a nation where resources are available, that the education is free, okay? And you want to change your education system, even that. You have to roll up your sleeves and figure out what we want to do and how we're going to do it. This stuff is way too important. I want to tie this on as we close. I want to tie this to what Maya is bringing up as well, because this is so critical about mental health. One of the biggest issues that is facing a generation that's growing up that will become voters and are voters is social media and social media addiction and digital media addiction and echo chambers, okay? We cannot inspire a generation if we don't tell them that they're powerful. Every message that they're receiving in social media is you have to look a certain way, you have to live in a certain zip code, you have to have a certain car to be able to be accepted. People are getting lost. And I will tell you, Maya could probably tell us, that the largest increase in social anxiety meds start at the age of 10 now, because people are, and so where are our kids getting these messages from? Who's driving the car in this country? And so solve our own problems. You are your neighbor's keeper. Learn how to write a legislation. Go to your elected official and become a partner in this process, and understand that we are much stronger together.
Yeah, and one of the things that I have always advocated, folks, is talk to your neighbors. Go into your neighborhood, form a little association. Like in Plainfield, where I live, we have the Plainfield community alliance that we started last year after the murder of Wadi. Okay, and when we did the vigil after his funeral, 3,000 people showed up.
Beautiful.
Okay. Then we have been following it up with local activities on a regular basis every other month or so. We meet and we talk to each other about who we are, what our challenges are, introduce ourselves as human beings. Okay. At the end of the day, we are not Republicans, we are not Democrats, we are Americans, and let's make sure that we come across as Americans and make America great, not in the way that Donald Trump and his idiots want us to do that. And I'm sorry to use the word idiot, but that's what people are. If they have been following something without using their brains, that's what the definition of an idiot is, okay? But politics aside, let's come together as Americans first, and we go into the next year, 2025. Let's make sure that we are following what is in our hearts for our country and for our upcoming generations. Folks, on that note, thank you all very much for joining us. Please go to our website, plsradio.com, to watch the full show, and we will be coming to you live next week. Our final show of the year, we're going to focus on what is happening in the Middle East and how responsible America is for what has happened. Thank you all very much. We'll be seeing you next week.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Go where?
I like that.
The preceding program, The Lightning Strike, was sponsored by Mohammed Fahim, and to the extent applicable, their guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of Heartland Signal, LLC, or its management.